Hello, this is a level design breakdown and commentary of the second level in the game Pig and Chicken. So, and in this level, the player is learning the relationship between Pig and Chicken and how the jump mechanics work. So Chicken lifts up Pig by flapping his wings. So the first jump is Pig jumping into the air, and then Chicken can lift Pig up by flapping his wings. And there's also a little gliding mechanic here. So we're using this camera override to direct the player to certain goals, or just to frame the characters for dialogue. So for example here, this is the first little platforming challenge for the player, and we're using the camera override to direct the player across. There's also nowhere else to go. There's walls everywhere, so this is the only way forward. And these lamps that Pig and Chicken are standing next to right there is our checkpoint system. So that also serves as a guiding thing for the player. So in initial iterations of this area, the lily pads were much smaller. They were and it was very difficult for players. So in subsequent iterations, we just made them bigger and made it easier to get across. Once we get into here, this little dialogue that's scrolling below is a little character development moment for Pig and Chicken where we get to know their relationship a bit more. So that's why I made this tunnel, this hollowed out log, to give space for that dialogue and to bring the eye of the player to that dialogue scroll so they can focus on that instead of looking at other things. But when we come out of that tunnel, we see these mushrooms, and Pig wants to eat them. Chicken says no, no, but we can jump on them. You know, classic video games, they are bouncy mushrooms. And this is an opportunity for players to just kind of have a little fun without the cost of stamina. So the mushrooms just bounce them up. And they're also serving a little bit of a guiding purpose. You know, if there's mushrooms and something I can interact with, I'll go there and do that. And then again, the checkpoint of the lamp post. This takes a little bit more skill with the jumping mechanic and flying to get across that and successfully jump onto the mushroom and use the jumping mechanics to get across. And then going through here, this is a little bit of an open space that would, if you go that way, it will go back over to the lily pad pond. But we're using these mushrooms over here to inform the player, like, no, no, use these. This is what you've been interacting with. Here, we're using the camera override for a narrative purpose to talk about this tornado that happened in the first level that took Pig's wings away. And it also tells the player to go down that way. And initially that wasn't enough. Players, you know, thought they might get a fail state if they just jumped down all the way. So we made a little bit extra cliff here. This cliff wasn't in initial iterations, and it made players feel safer that they could go that way. But it is also a point of no return. You can't quite get back up that way. So, which is good because I don't want players to, you know, be lost and moving in different directions. And then going through here, players really wanted to, in earlier iterations, they wanted to go into this mess of logs, broken down logs and trees. Oof, this frame rate. But I don't want them to go there. So I just made it messier and messier and messier. I think it still needs to be messier to inform the player that, nope, do not go that way. We don't want you to go there. And then here is kind of the second water challenge for the players, and it's just a little bit more difficult than the lily pads because you have to kind of nail that jump a little bit more, and you know, moving platforms are a little bit harder. Then in here, we opened up the space to give space because Pig is telling the player here that you can hold left shift to sprint. So I wanted to just give a big wide open space for players to enjoy this little running mechanic that is new for them now. And then the checkpoints again are leading us, and we're also using Chicken in his knowledge of the forest, to tell us where to go. And in this little dialogue, he says that they have to go up the trees um, to get to Heron, which is the goal of this level. Now, in initial iterations of this level, these tree branches were much skinnier, and these mushrooms on the sides of the trunks were not there. It was all skinny tree branches, and there was only one way to go up the trees. So now we've added these mushrooms on the sides of the, oops, trunks to give a little bit of a safe space, and then we've widened the branches to allow for more landing area and just a larger platform to traverse. And also, there's more than one way to get up this little maze of branches. They all funnel to this one location, but it just gave it a little more opportunity and a little less miscuing to the player. So now any tree that you choose to go up to start with, you'll end up here. Then when we get up here, we're using the same pop of color from the mushroom and that interaction from the mushroom to tell the player this is where you need to go. And we see a branch that we've just been walking on. So players know that they need to bounce on this and get across here. And this is intended to be a little bit difficult. You're using all of the features of this level, the bouncing mushrooms and the flapping and gliding mechanic to get there. And players know where to go. They know that the pop of color from the mushroom guides us onto the branch, and then we move forward to this checkpoint. This camera override is for narrative purposes and to inform the player that we want to try to collect that balloon. In the first level, players are collecting balloons, and the camera points there so the player tries to collect it. However, though, a major narrative theme of this game is accepting that you cannot do things that you once were able to because the game is about physical disability and aging. So even with a perfect jump and glide combo, you cannot reach this collectible of this balloon. And this is really just getting the narrative themes into the player's mind through mechanics. So once we land down here, the player's funneled by these rocks and branches into this checkpoint and into this little tunnel-like space of branches fallen over. And I wanted to bring in the space, take the level design in, because we're about to walk out here and have a reveal of Heron, who's been the goal of this level, and we have this nice vista of looking over the pond. And this is the end of the level. They speak with Heron, and then he sends them into the next level where they meet Penguin. Thanks so much for listening and watching, and I hope to talk more with you about this soon.